Dear distinguished speakers, dear participants, welcome to our Finnspired-Sino Scholar Talks. As the Director of Sector of Study and Training of CSSA Tampere, as well as a student in TUT, it's my honor to be the chair of these talks. Today's event is co-organized by the Chinese Students and Scholars Association in Tampere, Sino-Finnish Educational Research Center, and Chinese Students and Scholars Association in Jyväskylä. On behalf of all co-organizers, I warmly welcome you all to be here. Finnspired-Sino Talks is a joint event initiated by Chinese Students and Scholars Association in Tampere and Chinese Students and Scholars Association in Jyväskylä. As its name indicates, the event aims to provide a platform for Chinese students and the scholars who are educated or inspired by Finnish system to share their learning and research outcomes, and also for Finnish scholars and students to share their ideas about China. The theme of today's event is, Can China learn from Finnish education system? To answer public curiosity, we invite Chinese education experts in Finland and also Finnish scholar who has experience working in China to discuss together with us about the raised question and share their insights with us. First, let's warmly welcome the head of education sector and the Chinese embassy in Finland, Yu Hanggao, to deliver the opening speech. Let's welcome.
Yeah, I'm the therapist. Is that right?
Yes, excellent.
And all the experts and scholars from the different fields. I'm very happy to be traveling this time to attend this function. And I would like to take this opportunity to share my experience about the education of Finland, because my education background is in China, and the working background is in Japan, in New Zealand, and Finland. So I think it's quite international, and I visit more than about 20 countries. The feeling is that when I came to Finland, I visit universities, upper secondary school, primary school, kindergartens. I think it's not too much difference compared with other universities, other countries. It's quite confusing is that the basic education level is very popular, very famous in the world about Finland. But what I see in the classroom or talk to the students, it's not too much difference. For example, in the primary school, if there are some naughty boy or naughty students affect the other students, the teacher will say, please go out. The same thing happened in some other countries. And in the university, the students learn by themselves, most of them. They learn very hard, some of them. I think the system is very good for the talent and the disciplined students for their study, because they can learn by themselves. You have awards that not force them to do it, not force them to study, not force them to have too much pressure, not compare with others, not evaluate the teacher, not, even evaluate the teacher in different ways of teaching. So that's the main concept to me at the very beginning. But I've been there more than 2 years. The more I learn about the basic education system of Finland, the better for me to understand what should we learn. Especially in Asia or in some, especially in China, the teacher asks all the students to remember a lot of things. But here in Finland, they teach the students how to learn in the future, how to learn the skill to learn the new technology. And they will do something by themselves, not get knowledge directly from the teacher. They must learn something by themselves. This is very different concept. Although in the classroom, some students, they are not listening to the teacher all the time, but the teacher can have their method to attract the students to do something, to learn something by themselves. So that's the quite different things. And another thing is quite impressed me is that everybody talked to me is that the PISA examination or the PISA test have the very high level for Finland for long history. For the top 5 for more than about 10 years or something like that. So the basic education is quite famous and popular in the world. But the experts who have told me, we do a lot of reform. We design our curriculum for this basic education for the schools, but we never reform our education for the PISA, for examination. We are very happy we have a very good result for the PISA, but we will not do a lot of reform for the PISA, for some examination, or even for the entrance of examination to the university. So that's the concept we should learn from Finland, is that not for the examination. In China, the entrance examination or some in different level is the direction for the education, but not here in Finland. No. They told me that we never design our curriculum for the PISA for some examination, so we should learn the concept. And there's another thing is that I have some questions I hope to share with the participants this time, at this moment. It's about 50,000 students in each age, 50 to 60,000. But every year, they told me it's about 150,000 students attend the entrance examination to the universities. I think it's quite a high number, but there are only about 48,000 students have the opportunity to study in the university. This is quite huge difference. There are at least about 100,000 students cannot have the opportunities to study in the university. I'm quite surprised about the number. It's about that means it's only 27 to 28% of the students have the opportunity to study in the university. But in China, students who attend the entrance examination to the university is about 48%. So that's the big difference. There are about 5 million students have the opportunity to study in the university each year. So that's the big number about the population of Finland. And another question is that the export policy of education in Finland, they have two concepts, two different meanings. One is for business. Another one is share your advanced education concept to the world. So that's the export policy was kind of target in the future. Is another question. And there's another one is that when some experts or professors talk to me about the export, education export, they hope to attract more international students to study and work in Finland. In other countries, like I had the experience to work in New Zealand for more than 5 years. They attract the talent, the different field expertise to work in Finland. Their concept is that we will provide the immigration help, will provide the working opportunities, will provide more language environment for the immigrations. So that's the very attractive policy for whole system, not only for the education. Education, immigration, working opportunity, and your welfare. It's a lot of policies to support their education attractive policy. And their international students' contribution is about 2.8 billion US dollar each year. So that's I think this is a great contribution for the business. For Finland, what kind of policy we can have for the international students from different countries. And there's another topic a lot of people share with me is about the preschool education. And there's Miko, who is the counselor of education in China in the embassy of Finland in China. Mika. And when we talked about these topics, he said, "You worked here more than 2 years, and what's your dream for your job?" I told him, "My dream is to introduce your concept for the children's, especially primary school and the preschool students, not to learn too much knowledge in the kindergarten or the primary school, not too much pressure in China." He said, "But no one can accept your idea in China because it's very competitive, because most of the parents, the family, hope the children to learn at once than others." But I said, if the kindergarten students learn university's level, is there any use for the children? Is they happy for their children's life? So I do hope the Chinese or some other countries can share the experience of the preschool students can happily, healthy, grow up their childhood. That's my dream. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope we can have a very good forum. We can have a very good talk about how to learn, how to exchange the education concept for the different two countries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Mr. Gao. He has traveled a long time to be here. It's our great honor to have him today. And now let's welcome Dr. Antti Lundqvist, the Dean of Faculty of Management in University of Tampere, to deliver his speech.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Very nice to be here in this new type of event. And thank you, Juha, for your very nice and insightful presentation. I think it, in a nice manner, very well described the key themes of today's event. What can China learn from Finnish education? I think you touched some of the key aspects there. So welcome from my behalf and from the behalf of University of Tampere to this new type of event. This is the first edition of the Finnspired-Sino Talks. I think it's a nice concept, and it's a new way of bringing both students and scholars together. I think also the organizers have made a good choice in choosing the site, because this is also represents a new way of doing things. We are here with our socks and sitting on a sofa in a little bit different environment, and hopefully that sparks our imagination in thinking about things in a different way. Well, obviously China is a very interesting and important partner for Finland and for the University of Tampere in terms of education collaboration. Of course, just the scale of the countries is significant, and we have been very successful in Finland in developing our education practices at different levels, starting from the young children up to the university level. But of course the challenges are perhaps not so severe in Finland. It's easier to manage education programs for a nation of 5 million people compared to more than 1 billion. So in that sense, we are here talking about what China and Chinese educators can learn from Finland. And I would like to also turn the question on the other way around. I think there are many things that we can also learn from China. And also, I think the key theme of today, what can Chinese educators learn from Finland, relates to the relevance issue, whether something that is working in Finland quite well can be transferred to China. And I think in order to understand or to be able to answer to that question, we need to understand what's happening in China, how the education system has been developed, and what are the challenges. So in this sense, we need to have a dialogue and to learn from each other, not just from one direction to another. So I think in that sense also events like these are very, very important, and I'm happy to see different types of events, not just academic scholarly debates, but also these kind of fresh new initiatives. As I mentioned, China is an important direction for the international activities for the University of Tampere. Nowadays the Sino-Finnish Educational Research Center, SFERC, is a key initiative that we use to try to collect different initiatives and activities together at the University of Tampere and more widely in Finland. And Dr. Chai is leading the initiative, and he will talk later and perhaps tell a little bit more about the center as well. Yes, I think that those were the main messages I have. Thank you for both sides, for the scholars and students to organize this nice new event, and I surely hope that there will be a second and several other editions of these Finnspired-Sino Talks in the future. So I hope you will have a fruitful discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you for Dr. Anti's message. Professor Liu Baochun also said his opening speech here. Although he could not make it here, he is the director of Sino-Finnish Educational Research Center and the professor in Beijing Normal University. So now let's welcome Dr. Jyvaskyla to deliver the speech on behalf of him.
Thank you very much. And now I am in the role of Professor Liu Baochun, and he is the director of Institute of Comparative and International Education at Beijing Normal University, and is also the Chinese director of the Sino-Finnish Educational Research Center. So now I'm reading his speech. Dear colleagues and friends, it's my great pleasure to know that a special seminar on Sino-Finland education research will be held in Tampere. For many years and in many different aspects, Tampere has been playing a role of the pioneer and headquarters of Sino-Finnish education research and cooperation in Finland. As Finnish education is achieving increasing fame throughout the world, the Finnish lessons in education have become a hot topic in the academic and educational circles in China. The public also showed strong interest in Finnish education. Can China learn from Finnish education? What can China learn from Finnish education? How can China learn from Finnish education? Frankly speaking, the research on these topics is at a preliminary stage. Therefore, today's seminar is particularly valuable in the research on and promotion of Finnish education or Finnish experience. Chinese scholars who work and study in Finland, especially in Tampere, has played an important role, and we also expect more Finnish scholars to join the research on these topics. The Sino-Finnish Education Research Center will provide a platform and a bridge for the joint research on Finnish education, Chinese education, and the Sino-Finnish education cooperation by the scholars on both sides and beyond. As a coordinator on Chinese side of the Sino-Finnish Education Research Center, I would like to thank you, together with my colleague Cai Yuzhuo, the coordinator on the Finnish side. Thank you for your contribution to the research and the cooperation of Sino-Finnish education and your support to the seminar. Finally, I sincerely wish today's seminar a great success. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Dr. Jyvaskyla and Professor Liu Baochun. Then I will introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Jyvaskyla. He is a senior lecturer and adjunct professor at HEG, as well as the doctor at Faculty of Management.
Okay, it's me again. Good morning. Sorry, I have to play it, right? This is not to show my presentation, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the event. On behalf of one of the organizer. Okay, sorry for that. So I try to be short. Okay, now I come to my views a little bit about Finnish education. Thank you already for the speakers and particularly Mr. Gao Yuhang from Chinese Embassy already give very insightful views about his perception of Finnish education. And in my speech, I mainly raise questions rather than giving you the answers, as Professor Liu Baoshan already mentioned. How China can learn from Finnish education is a very important topic, but we are on the very preliminary stage. So this is why we need, everybody, not only the speakers, but also many audience, but also others outside of the room to contribute to the discussion and the research. My topic is about Finnish lessons and what China can learn. So here are the questions I'm going to raise. What are the lessons of Finnish education? Are Finnish lessons misunderstood by Chinese? How can Finnish education experience help China? And what can China learn from Finnish education? Finally, because we are running a research organization, so what are our approaches for doing the comparative study? As I said, these are mainly the questions, but nevertheless, I would like to share a little bit my reflections on these issues. So what are the Finnish lessons? The easiest way is to read the book written by Pasi Zaherberg. This is the second version, but since the first version is also very valuable. But to Chinese, or in the eyes of Chinese, Finnish lessons are miracles. While miracles, they think, Finnish students achieve highest performance in shortest learning time. That's the miracle. And the best students, high school students, go to school of education, faculty of education, to prepare their career for future teachers. That's a miracle. And the vocational education is also popular. Almost 50% of the students after compulsory education go to vocational education. That is admired by the Chinese. And everything functions well in the Finnish schools, even though there is no formal monitoring system. But there are also some Finnish lessons might be misunderstood by Chinese. The first thing Mr. Gao Yuhang has mentioned. Many Chinese assume, Finnish education is very relaxed because the students have less competition in getting a place in universities. But actually, the Finnish high school students have a higher pressure than the Chinese to get a place in university if we just compare the figure, which Mr. Gao has mentioned. I just list, in this year, 2018, there are only 47,000 students will be selected to the university out of 140,000 applicants. And in some universities, such as University of Tampere, the successful rate for the application is even lower. Only 10% students will get 10% applicants to Tampere University will eventually get a place to study here. So the pressure is relatively high. And also many Chinese think the Finnish education, the merit is mainly on basic education, but actually there are also a lot of things China can learn from higher education, also the University of Applied Sciences. And many Chinese admire Finnish education. They think we can learn Finnish education if we have a chance to visit the Finnish schools. So this is why many Chinese professionals, school leaders come to visit Finnish schools, even having long-time training programs. But many visitors are somehow disappointed because they have found little experience can be directly applied into their work practice. Then they come to another conclusion: Finnish experience cannot be learned because the contextual differences between the two countries are too huge. So there are some misunderstandings. There could be more. I think our speakers will continuously talk about these questions. Then what can the Finnish experience help China? Finnish experience is not a tool which can directly resolve the problems in Chinese education. Rather, it's a mirror. By looking at the Finnish education, the most important thing for Chinese is Chinese know better of the Chinese system. So this is my view about the Finnish lessons. It's not really something, a tool. If you come here, expect to get something immediately to use, then often the Chinese are disappointed. But I already found through discussing with many Chinese visitors, even though they somehow complain we cannot use too much, but through the discussion, they understand much better the Chinese education through visiting the Finnish schools, looking at Finnish education as a mirror. What China can learn from Finnish education through the mirrors. The most important thing, as I have highlighted in many occasions, also in my published articles in Chinese, is to emphasize China should learn how Finns was learning from other countries when reforming its education system. Finnish education system, the one we have seen today, is also a product of a long time, a 4 decades reform from 1970s. And in the 1960s and 70s, the teaching method and the learning environment in Finland were quite similar to the current situation in China. For example, in that time, the Finnish education is also very much teacher-centered, and the student needed to select vocational or academic paths in early age, quite similar to the Chinese. And there were also quality variations between the schools. But how Finland has achieved the miracle today, we need to go back to the 40 years ago to understand how Finns reformed their education system. So the Finnish experience in education reform, I think this is a long story, and many Finnish experts know very well about that. But I just share a few of my reflections. At least, there is one thing, I also emphasize. We should not only looking at the basic education. If we want to learn Finnish education, we take education as a whole, because the Finnish reform is not only in one sector. In the past 30 or 40 years, also the higher education vocational system has undergone fundamental reforms. And the reform was starting not with tools, some concrete measures, approaches. But 40 years ago, Finland started the discussions on the core value of education. So the first thing of the reform is to achieve the consensus on what is education, or what education is for, the core value of education. And the reform so can be considered as a learning foreign experience plus localized innovation. So Finland has managed this very well, even though Finland has borrowed some experience, but nowadays we cannot see, what are direct borrowing from one country, but now we all know this is the Finnish education. So this is something we should go a little bit deeper to understand. And also Finnish education is a very long process. So patience is also very important. We cannot believe that any reform, can succeed in a short time. If we expect after visiting Finland, then we can really, improve our education system in China, then often, is disappointment. And finally, Sisu spirit. That is the Sisu, I think, in the room, many are Finns and Chinese, long time living in Finland. We know already the very important Finnish word, Sisu. I do not need to give a long explanation. This is very important, in implementing the reform, especially in a long-time project. So there are some Finnish lessons we can learn quickly, because my words might, threaten some people. If we need to wait 40 years, but there are indeed, I think there should be something we can learn quickly. They're all because we need to distinguish what lessons we need to have long-term vision, and what we might experiment already after visiting the Finnish schools. For example, some techniques in teaching and learning. So this is something. Pedagogical issues. I think there's something Chinese can already piloted in Chinese environment. For instance, I know that some Finnish teachers were invited to Chinese schools to give demonstration lessons, for example, to teach English, which is easy to handle, and to somehow challenge the Finnish teachers. The Chinese schools, bring 50 students to the Finnish teachers. But in Finland, normally teacher only deal with the 20 or 23, and also with the assistant. How the Finnish teacher is dealing with 50 students? I think Finnish teacher they are not. There are several cases. They use quite similar approaches. They just simply divide the group into 25-1, 25B, and they organize different activities. So in the same time, the teacher is dealing with 25 students. So we try to control the group in a smaller size, so the Finnish way of teaching can be implemented in China. So this is something as an example, we can further discuss, and identifying and developing student interest. This is a very important element in Finnish education. I found, my interpretation of the Finnish compulsory education. So after the compulsory education, from early child education until they graduated, after 9th grade from the school, the most achievement for the students is almost every student know what they want to do in the future. At least they have discovered what are their strengths, their interests. So this is something missing in the Chinese teaching environment. Maybe this is something we can immediately learn and to try. And higher education entrance examination, Mr. Gao has also mentioned it. I think I do not want to go deep in all the issues, and also the regional university reforms, because Chinese regional universities are moving towards, something like Finnish AMKs or universities of applied sciences. I think Han Yu-chen will give more discussions on these issues. But the most important thing, so why not we collaborate? We work with Finnish teachers. This is something we can do together. And we are not only learning from one to the other, but we share the experiences of Finland, of China, and then we try to utilize our experience. We can address global challenges. We can move a little bit further, not only China and Finland. We are having the advantages. One is the best education, the other is the largest education. So we are in such wonderful place to really, experience a lot of new ideas, and we can contribute to the education development in the world. So finally, I talk a little bit about our center, because these are the issues we are going to tackle in the center. But the center is mainly a platform. It's not us to do the research, it's you. We have this is not from me. This is basically the discussions in the comparative education. This is about the comparative education method. In many cases, even for many visitors, they are mainly taking these normative approaches because they want to find so which are the best practices and how can best practices be effectively disseminated, and finally what has been has been improved as a result of policy borrowing. Basically, the normative approach is very simple. Here is a good model, and then we want to apply to see how it works. But then another model is called analytical. The analytical model is to see, instead of already take it for granted, this is best practices. It's mainly from the borrower's perspective. So what practice or whose practice are considered best in my country, in my environment, and under what conditions the practice can be disseminated. And once we borrow some practices, who benefits, who loses? So these are the issues we are going to tackle in the Sino-Finnish Education Research Center using the analytical approach. And finally, I want to show one demonstration of our research. As Andy mentioned, this event is untraditional, and we want to offer also untraditional way of presenting our insights, our reflections, and the research result. So this is the Finnish education video is one of the innovative ways of presenting the research of Sino-Finnish education. We did the video last year, and the first video was shown when Finnish Minister of Education and Culture visiting Beijing in October. If you are interested, I think I have saved 30 minutes. Now it's 7 minutes. I have saved 30 minutes to play a video, which is also available on iQIYI, one of the largest Chinese online media. So now I switch it. This is our logo. I have somehow, sorry. This is also our logo. So this is, we try to put all the activities here, and now I can show you the video. But please be quiet. We do not have too loud speaker, and the only sound is come from the projector. So let's see whether it works.
芬兰素有千湖之国的美誉，70%以上的国土面积被森林、湖泊覆盖。它是全球国民幸福指数最高的国家之一。同时，来自芬兰的愤怒的小鸟、诺基亚等品牌享誉全球。它也是世界上最具创新力和竞争力的国家之一。而教育就是引领芬兰国民幸福指数和国家竞争力的核心，特别是在披萨测试中，芬兰教育多次世界第一。那么，芬兰教育究竟是怎样的？今天就跟我们一起走进芬兰学校，听听来自芬兰教育者的声音。芬兰素有千湖之国的美誉，70%以上的国土面积被森林、湖泊覆盖。它是全球。芬兰素有千湖之国的美誉，70%以上的国土面积被森林、湖泊覆盖。它是全球国民幸福指数最高的国家之一。同时，来自芬兰的愤怒的小鸟、诺基亚等品牌享誉全球。它也是世界上最具创新力和竞争力的国家之一。而教育就是引领芬兰国民幸福指数和国家竞争力的核心，特别是在披萨测试中，芬兰教育多次世界第一。 那么，芬兰教育究竟是怎样的？今天就跟我们一起走进芬兰学校，听听来自芬兰教育者的声音。芬兰教育的特点是少即是多，学生在校时间少，成绩却没有落下。芬兰教师对此现象有着这样的解读
：Yes, we are known our system, Finnish school system, that there's not so much homework, and I think that's a good thing. We don't need to have children do the second workday after school. We consider that it's important that they have some time with their parents, with their sisters and brothers, relatives, and for leisure time and for hobbies also.
We do have homeworks, but I don't think we have as much as some other countries have.
Not all that much homework. It is really just it takes half an hour maybe make them every day or less. So we don't assess students on the basis of curriculum goals that much, but on the basis of their own goals and objectives of learning.
北欧平等化的社会理念贯穿到芬兰教育中，就是追求公平与平等。它不仅为每个学生提供平等的入学机会和高质量的教育，同时差异化教学也保证每个学生的个性化发展。
We also educate them so that every child from every background can have equal learning environment and opportunities.
Well, inclusive education, the school for all, participation, belonging, being involved, is based on the equal right for each learner to get high quality education among the peers near home.
自上世纪70年代起，芬兰小学以上的教师都必须具备硕士学历。如此高质量的师资，赢得的是全社会对教师队伍的高度信任，同时也赋予了教师高度的自主权。
Teaching profession is almost as popular as its medical profession or law profession. So there are many applicants. Most popular teacher education in Finland is the primary school class teacher education. And for example, in the University of Tampere, we have more than 10 times more applicants than our intake list.
The answer is that they have much autonomy, but of course they have to apply the local curriculum and the core curriculum and the big ideas that comes from there. And the emphasis on collaboration, of course, kind of encourages them to use this autonomy to work together and to kind of increase the students' autonomy. So the autonomy is understood not as you working as an individual teacher doing what you want, but instead using your autonomy to work together with others.
In Finland, teachers are very autonomous and individual. They can decide how they teach, and they have pedagogical freedom. And I think because we trust on teachers so much, they are highly educated, so they really are specialists in teaching. So I'm not the right person to tell them what to do. They know the children and they know how to do it, and I trust on them. And because I trust on them, I think on the other hand, teachers feel very strong responsibility. They really want to make sure that the students learn.
I'm very free to work in the classroom. I can design the books, what I like to use, and I can design what kind of things we are doing. But of course we have the curriculum, what is saying what we are supposed to teach, the main things.
在芬兰，大自然是最好的教师。学生在这里更容易理解人与环境、人与自我的可持续发展。
Forest is very important to Finns. It's the place to calm down and feel relaxed, and that's a place where you can learn easily if your feelings are calm and you feel comfortable. So forest is the very good place to learn. You learn there much easier than inside, especially those cooperation skills.
在芬兰，职业教育与普通教育有着同等地位。职业教育有高中，也有本科、硕士。更重要的是，职业教育轨道与普通教育轨道可以自由转换。这样的双轨制没有死胡同。
The Finnish universities have very deep roots in the German and the Nordic tradition of higher education, meaning that they are very much oriented for research. And only very recently, in the 1990s, the new, more vocational and applied sector of universities were established, called Universities of Applied Sciences. And the main merits of this reform, from the systemic point of view, has been the diversification of the tasks and functions of higher education.
The Finnish US model is focusing on qualified teachers. Our teachers always have their minimum master level qualification. Many of them have their PhD, of course, but the requirement of the professionalism from industry and the business life is very essential. They have to be able to explain the real working life cases, not just theories. And of course also the pedagogical view. Universities of Applied Sciences are specialized in the question of how. How do we teach? How do people learn? We are not lecturing anymore so much. We are building teams and working on projects, and I think this is what 21st century is all about.
I would say that change the word talent to competence, because everyone has talents for certain kind of skills, but all of us can learn competencies.
Suurin ero meidän ja lukiolaisten välillä on varmaan se, että meillä on niin paljon sitä käytäntöä, mitä me harjoitetaan täällä koulussa. Ja lukiolaiset, ne niinku teoreettisesti käy kaikki asiat läpi, mutta me tehdään ne asiat ihan käytännössä täällä. Ja se on mun mielestä kivaa.
最终，芬兰教育的目标是要培养有学习自主权的社会公民，既要让个体成为有幸福感的完整的人，又要达到人与社会的最大匹配。
The main aim of Finnish early childhood education is to support the equality among children, to build that kind of sense of belonging in a community, in a group, and building that kind of strong foundation for lifelong learning.
To teach the children how to connect with each other and how to learn to be in the social areas with each other.
Well, there's no just the one main goal in early childhood education, but maybe the word would be the happy childhood and a capability of learning. Finding for every child something they are very good at.
I think the most important thing is that they are interested. Not that how much they know, or are they quite talented. If they are interested, they know and they educate themselves furthermore.
那么，我们中国教育者可以怎样向芬兰学习呢？
来芬兰访问的很多校长、学校的老师、教育工作者，经常问到的这个问题呢，就是。中国和芬兰的国情呢有很大的不同。芬兰的教育我们看着虽然很好，有很多都值得我们羡慕的地方，但是呢，对于我们中国的教育到底？
I think that it's many opportunities to learn from each other.
我们这两个国家可能有不同的这种国情，但是呢，我觉得现面的挑战是非常类似的。我觉得尤其是芬兰的一个科技大学这种以学生为中心，然后把整个的学校的这种教育和实践的过程，尤其是面对学生未来的这个工作导向的这样的一个教育过程，我觉得这个里面还是有很多的具体的做法，还有包括一些理念，都值得我们国内的学校来思考、交流，甚至在研究里面可以借鉴。
当然，这个学习。也应该是一个相互的一个过程。
中芬合作，我个人认为呢，首先呢，因为我们目前这种机构众多，还是要统筹协调起来。
当我们看芬兰的教育的时候，我们说它有很多地方做得很好。
借鉴，但是我们一定也要知道，借鉴学习不是靠本不是一致，而是需要了解一下他哪部分做得好，他为什么好，他背后他的知识应用是什么。我觉得教育的合作呢，它不仅仅是基础教育，芬兰的基础教育很好，但是高等教育职业教育也都做得不错。
更重要的是要学习芬兰是怎么学习其他国家的经验，把别人好的经验能够完全吸收到自己的社会和文化环境中，最后打造成一个自己的本土的一个教育模式。可能学习芬兰怎么去学习他国的经验，为我所用，可能是对于中国教育工作者来说更重要、更值得探索的一个话题。
您现在收看的是由中芬联合创新学习研究院、中芬教育研究中心推出的《这就是芬兰教育》系列篇的续篇。接下来我们会从中芬比较的视角解读芬兰教育，针对中国关心的教育热点问题，分专题介绍芬兰的经验。比如芬兰的新课改到底新在哪里？芬兰的职业教育为何也很热门？芬兰教师是如何历练出来的？本系列篇还将突出中国教育者可以怎样把芬兰经验运用到中国教育改革和实践中，从而进一步提升中国教育的质量和师生的幸福感。更多中芬教育的探索，敬请关注《这就是芬兰教育》系列篇。
My speech is over now.
芬兰素有千湖之母。
Thank you for Dr. Yu Zhuotai's great speech. Now I will pass the floor to Gao Mingzhen, the chairperson of CSSA Tampere, as well as the researcher in University of Tampere. She will host a panel talk on how can China and Finland learn from each other's education. I will also welcome the panelists to the stage. The panelists are Bing Zuo, the visiting scholar in Faculty of Management in UTA from Lingnan Normal University. Li Jie, the visiting scholar of Faculty of Education in UTA from Tianjin Normal University. Jiao Chen, the visiting scholar of Faculty of Education in UTA from South China Normal University. Tan Yuchen, the professor in Customer Relation Management Manager in TAMC, and Paula Stranger, the clinical lecturer from UTA as well as visiting scholar in Jinan University.
Okay, thank you, He Qing. Now I will start the panel discussion. But the whole arrangement of as He Qing already introduced our panelists. Originally, our idea is that to invite the panelists to sit all here, but I think maybe it will be a bit difficult for the panelists to look at the slides if they sit here. So maybe the panelists, you can come sit on the first row of the sofa first, and then when we come to the discussion, then we all sit here, then we can face to face to discuss with the audience. Yeah, and yeah, please take a seat. Yeah, and as the when I originally planned this section as the name called like Finnspired-Sino Talk, also Andy suggested earlier that this means that our idea is to share the ideas like Chinese inspired Finland. And then so originally when we planned this panel, the theme is like, can China learn from Finnish education? But after I announced this event, actually I get a lot of feedback from my Finnish colleagues and friends. They tell me that actually Finland can also learn from China. And they also have many experiences to share. So in the end, we changed the theme like to be like mutual learning, like what can China learn from Finland and also what can Finland learn from China. So we can have more sparks in the cross conversation. And our schedule is a bit behind, so I won't talk too much. Now I will pass the floor to Professor Jyvaskyla first. She will first share her idea for 10 minutes. So each panelist will have 10 minutes, and after that you are welcome to sit here and then we have more the panel discussion. Okay, the floor is yours, Professor.
So first, I will thank for the Sino-Finnish Educational Research Center and the CSSA to give me the opportunity to share my opinion. So today my topic is trust cultural element of education in Finland. So my topic has three parts. First, I will introduce the research on Finnish education in China. And then I will look at the characteristics of research on Finnish education in China. Finally, I will share with my opinion in cultural perspective to Finnish education. So the first part is review of the research on Finnish education in China. I searched the article use Finland and education as keyword from CNKI. CNKI, its full name is China National Knowledge Infrastructure. CNKI is the most authoritative digital academic platform in China. So I got 1,342 results. And the result mainly focused on after 2000. So from this curve, we can see that since 2001, the study on Finnish education in China has been increasing, which is corresponding to Finnish excellent record in PISA. So by last year, we can see it has reached the highest number, and it has 176 publications. And the term of publication types, we can see it is mainly published in journal with 1,135 articles, and some is in newspaper, as well as method thesis and doctoral dissertation, and Chinese forum and international conference. This is a list of doctoral dissertation and master thesis. Yes, and in this research, the main research field involved are education theory and management, secondary education, higher education, vocational education, and so on. And this chart shows that the situation of institution of publication. So we can see the largest is the Beijing Normal University, and the second one is East China Normal University. Here we noted that there are 8 articles from University of Tampere. So I checked it. I found that those articles are written by Professor Tsai. Yeah. So this figure is general of publication. So we can see the largest number is Shanghai Education, and then followed by Journal of World Education, and then it is China Education newspaper. So let's look at the characteristics of research on Finnish education in China. First of all, I think China research on Finnish education has been increasing since 2001. So interesting of Finnish education is continuing in China. Secondly, some dissertations have been in-depth academic research on Finland education. So Finnish education. So thirdly, the research field mainly focused on the physical education and second education, higher education, and vocational education and so on. Finally, the research topic include teacher education, curriculum reform, and education fairness. So the last part is trust the cultural element of education in Finland. In my opinion, I think education is closely related to its political, economy, and culture, while education is an important part of cultural field. Therefore, I think we can understand the Finnish education in cultural perspective. So, I think that the trust culture is an important factor for successful of education in Finland. So, trust is the most important basis of society and culture in Finnish education system. And trust culture has a long history and a deep social background in Finland. With the development of history, trust culture is constantly growing and maturing. From this picture, we can see the stakeholder has formed a good operating system through trust. And the educational authority gave the school with great autonomy in running school. And the school leader granted great freedom of teacher. And the parents have enough trust to teacher. And the teacher respected and trust the student. So we can see the teacher is central of trust culture in education in Finland. I think there are two reasons. One reason is that there is a strict teacher certification system in Finland. So it makes teachers are very excellent people. So secondly, I think the model of cultivation of teachers in Finland guarantee teachers' quality. So school, parents, students, all of them believe that teachers are experts in education. So finally, how should China learn from Finnish lessons? So I think First, we should give school enough autonomy. And secondly, we should respect and trust the teacher, improve the social status of teachers. Thirdly, I think Chinese teacher education system needs reform. And finally, students should be the center in the teacher process. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Zhu. Yeah, Professor Zhu mentioned two very important concepts. First, it's about research. Actually, I think mainly maybe for people outside academics, like before I enter academics, often I was think research is boring. Like I don't know what academics or researchers doing in their office. But then, like I don't know, I read a novel, fiction novel, like very famous now in China. It's called Santi, Three Bodies. I think the one main message I get there is quite interesting, is that human being cannot advance without research. So if people from the outside space block our research, then human being will just face death in the end. So yeah, so research is very important, even though it will be a bit boring. But then another key concept Professor Zhu tackled is about trust. I think this is also some impression for outsiders come to Finland first get. Maybe this is just our perception of Finnish system. Maybe it's not like, I don't know, maybe our Finnish colleagues later can also discuss with us whether it's this really like what we think. If there's other aspects, then we can share. As this session is called the Finnspired-Sino Talks, so it should be a talk. So if you have any question, you can also raise your hand and then ask our panelists in between. And also later we have more time for the audience discussion. And next I will invite Professor Li Jie to give her speech too.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very thankful to share my thoughts with you. And my name is Li Jie. I come from Primary Education College, Tianjin Normal University. And first, I want to show you how my angle of study is changing. In fact, I experienced the 4 steps of study process. The first step, I think, may be as same as most visiting scholars. Everything is new for me, so what I did was to explore, to find new things and different things in Finland education. And the second step, and I think, which was not very wise, because in that period, what I observed about Finnish education were appreciated or accepted without being thought too much or carefully, without being judged rationally. So gradually, I got to the third step, which is comparing, and I think it's the beginning of my study. But if we cannot stand on a neutral position, we will easily judge educational issues with bias wrongly. So now, my research angle is communicating, and I think if we communicate with each other, and which is inclusive and will be beneficial for each other to learn from each other, from mutual emulation. Okay, this is my angle change, and so my topic is what can we learn from each other? What is teachers' roles? Okay, the teachers' roles, and I think, yes, the main job of teachers is to teach, but to teach or to study is a big problem. Let us look at the world we are living in. Science and technology has highly developed, and the society appears with two things: change and reform. The cycle of knowledge renewing is becoming shorter and shorter. So what the teachers can teach can never catch up with the speed of knowledge updating. So the conclusion is that to be a good teacher, to be a learner first. This is the first problem I'm thinking. And the second one is about what the teachers are teaching. Okay, it's about the textbook. Textbook is very important, of course, but if teachers depend too much on the textbook, they will find themselves controlled or imprisoned by the textbook. And if the teachers are imprisoned, how can the teachers get the freedom in teaching? How can the teachers get creativity in teaching? And how can we believe such teachers can educate our students to be critical, to be creative, to be imaginative, to be problem solvers, and to be enthusiastic in communicating with the world full of curiosity? So I think it's very easy. It's very easy. We can find more learning materials which exist in our life everywhere. And in this aspect, Finland does better. And the third one, it's about the relationship between the teachers and the students. And the conclusion is very clear: high equality, high quality. And I think in China, government and more and more teachers have realized that we should do something to improve the relationship between the students and the teachers. But maybe we have a long way to go. This is the third one. You can imagine, like in your family, if you have only one kid or less kids, it is very easy to be equal with the kids. But if you have 5 kids or even more, if you want to keep the room clean, you want to keep the things in order, okay, I think maybe the parents tend to be authoritarian, okay. And this is the third one. And the fourth one, and the fifth one is about evaluation. In Finnish classrooms and in Chinese classrooms, we can find many kinds of evaluation: self-evaluation, peer evaluation, group evaluation, process evaluation, result evaluation. Okay, and we should think about a series of problems or questions. Why are we evaluating students? How are we evaluating the students? And how can we improve our teaching by evaluation? How can we improve teachers, students' learning by evaluation? So I think we should get down to one question, that is how to evaluate evaluation. Okay, and And the last is about pre-service teacher training. In China, we have UGS pattern, U university, okay, university, G government as students, and the government play an important role to connect the university and the schools, and it makes the teachers training efficiently and effectively. And the Finnish pattern, they have US model. Okay, then university and schools are connected directly. So the teacher's training is flexible and autonomous. So I cannot say which is better, but I think the correct or appropriate or suitable pattern is maybe the best one. We should consider our national conditions. Okay, and after the following problems of the following, my personal opinions, we should back to the first one, education. Okay, what education we should want? We should struggle for good education. Number one, does number one equal good education? Okay, that is all. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for Professor Lee. Yeah, I quite agree with many of Professor Lee's perception, especially about this evaluation, because personally I was once asked by the Chinese Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education to write a quality evaluation report of Finnish education. And actually, like, in the end, me and my colleagues, we produced the report, but it turned out it doesn't match the expectation, because what they are hoping is that we can have something like exactly to show like how to evaluate for ranking, how to evaluate for the governments to finally to utilize. But in Finland, the evaluation is more for the peer or students' development. So it doesn't, like, I can see the difference in two systems. But yeah, and then also we can see even from two scholars, we can hear different perception. Like Professor Zhu share more about the trust and culture, and Professor Lee can share with us more about this teaching approach and learning approach. So I believe you can learn more from the next speaker. So I will pass the floor to Dr. Chen Jiao.